I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
Hey guys, welcome to week 5 of Daily Star Wars Collecting. This is a really good week because if you check out our interview with a collector episode that I just posted, is posting right now, is with a very special guest. I had a really good time putting that, getting that all worked out and everything. It was very generous of him, so thank you very much. I'll keep it a little bit of a surprise. I'll put his name on the title after you guys get a chance to watch it and be surprised. And but it's really great, very, very good interview. And next week I have another really great YouTube interview with someone you're all probably familiar with, but I'll keep that a secret too. And I've watched it. It's already a really great interview, so I may get anxious and post it before Monday, but you'll see it. Wanted to do a wrap-up on Power of the Force, which you guys did such an amazing job covering, and I was actually really surprised with a lot of your choices for your favorite figures, and especially the younger contributors who I thought, since you didn't grow up with it, you don't have that nostalgia bias, and that you would be make fun of them, be a little harsh and stuff. And it turns out that you guys really liked it too. You're all really great Star Wars fans, and when you look at those toys, you're like, well, I understand. It was in the 90s, and they just didn't make them as advanced as they make them nowadays. And I was really surprised because I think I was the only one who actually criticized it. Pretty much everyone else, you said, oh, this figure's not so great, this Chewbacca, this or whatever. But for the most part, you guys had such really good choices for your best figures that I wanted to show you some of my favorite figures. Here are some of my favorite Power of the Force 2 figures, and couldn't decide on a specific Jawa, probably the little guy. I think they made maybe 5, because he came with a Gonk droid. These two came together, and then there was one that came with the Ronto, and then I think they had some Christmas special Jawas or something. But I thought they did a great job on all of them, with the light piping and all that. So the Jawas, and a lot of you guys said Jawas too. Hammerhead, of course, brilliant job they did on his skin, the texture of his skin. Really great job. It was one of the first Power of the Force figures I got. Leia in the Bounty Hunter disguise was one of my favorites. I would also put Boba Fett up here, but I have him somewhere separate with the rest of my Boba Fett stuff. Han and Carbonite, I think, is probably the best they ever did from Power of the Force 2, and not really so much because of the Harrison Ford figure, which he's not that bad. He's not that bulky. I thought they did a really good job. I use this figure all the time for everything, and the Carbonite block is what sells this. Clamp him in the back, put him in the Slave One, Jabba's Palace. You can have a lot of fun with this, and so Shadows of the Empire scenes were really good. Playing these, and close to movie accurate. I like that a lot. Another one of my favorites from Shadows of the Empire is Luke in the Imperial Guard disguise. They should have made a Lando too, because Lando wore the disguise also, but all they would have to do is replace the head. And I also wanted to say that in Philip's video he mentioned that Greedo, the version of Greedo that came out towards the end of the line with the vest and the really well sculpted head. There was an earlier version of Greedo that I had. I'd never heard of that version, so I'm going to go out and buy it based on his recommendation, and maybe I'll do a review on all the Greedos later. But so thank you very much for sharing that. Matt's video, if you didn't watch it, is hilarious. You have to go back and watch it. Matt from Star Wars New Zealand Reviews it was hilarious. I seriously, and I sent him a couple of messages saying how much I was laughing at his reference to George Lucas' pockets lined with gold. And it really, I don't know what it was, the way he said it made me laugh for seriously 4 or 5 days. So thank you, Matt. I had quite a few chuckles out of that. So Power of the Force is done. You guys did a great job. I neglected to mention the creatures, and a lot of you guys brought them up, the Bantha and the Dewback, and a lot of other really great creatures. And so thank you all. It was a really great discussion. I think that this was a really great week, probably the best week we've had so far. So thanks. Real quick, I had a couple other things. I wanted to show you. I did get a Boba Fett, Revenge of the Jedi Boba Fett, found at a store. It was kind of a third-rate kind of store. So you don't always go to the Walmarts and Targets, the Toys R Us. Go to some of those small places and you can find some good deals. I found the Revenge of the Jedi Boba Fett. I just want to show you the difference between them real quick. Here they are side by side. I don't know how much you can see through the bubble, but this is the one that comes on the Empire Strikes Back card that we've had for about a year now, and it's based on the Evolutions figure, first released in the Evolutions pack, and it's had a Saga Legends release and a couple other times, and or Legacy Collection Saga Legends. Then this is the Revenge of the Jedi figure that you can probably find right around now, and it's based on the vintage original trilogy collection Boba Fett, and it's a simpler figure, no removable helmet, which is fine by me. Not quite as good articulation as the Evolutions version, but for many years this was a top of the line amazing figure, and so it's been replaced by this, so it is inferior, but it's still worth buying, still better than 90% of the figures that Hasbro releases. So to get a little bit of variety, yeah, you know, I had to buy the same figure twice, but if you've seen my Boba Fett collection, you know that that's pretty much what I do, is just constantly buy Boba Fett over and over again. So it was nice to get a little variation rather than have the same figure in both. Although I've been told by the Budget Jedi and a few other people here on YouTube that there actually is another variation. The San Diego Comic-Con Revenge of the Jedi is actually a different Boba Fett. I think it's this version in a Revenge card. So I don't think I'm going to go crazy and buy that on eBay or anything, but just to have this little variation at the same time is, you know, pretty neat. Alright, now I want to get on to our discussion topic, but first our character discussion for this week is going to be, last week was on Emperor Palpatine, you guys did a great job. This week it's going to be Yoda. So, I mean, there's plenty we talk about Yoda action figures, his role in the movies, Clone Wars, stuff like that, and I was going to also give you, I don't want to make this video too long, so I won't go into what I think about Yoda, but I might start doing that next week, like I respond to my own question at the end if you guys don't cover it during the week, because I've got a lot to talk about Yoda. I'm sure we all do, so that'd be a fun one to talk about since we just did Sidious, you know. And now the main topic this week is going to be based on Playsets, which, you know, they don't make them very much anymore. It's kind of interesting, you know, the reasons why, and I was going to take you through the history of why that is, and, you know, kind of talk about it, and then our discussion for the week will be about Star Wars playsets.
For some reason, we don't get playsets anymore, and there are a lot of really good reasons why. So I'm going to take you on a little journey through collecting history, and we can look at the good ones and the bad ones and try to figure out why they decided to stop making them. Back in the 70s and 80s, Kenner made a lot of figures and vehicles, but they made lots of playsets too. And they started out small with like these little cardboard sets like the Cantina diorama, and then they got more detailed. And a good example is the Cantina playset, which was based on an earlier Wild West saloon toy by Kenner. And it has a plastic base and chairs and action features and a cardboard background. And there was also the Millennium Falcon. It's too big to be a vehicle. It opens up and you're supposed to play with it. It's designed more as a playset. And I think we can all agree that that was an amazing toy. Then they went completely over the top and they came out with the Death Star playset, which was a 4-layer plastic tower with a working elevator and trash compactor and lots of action features. And that was the biggest set they ever made, but they still continued to make them. They also had a Land of the Jawas playset with a plastic base and a cardboard sandcrawler. During the Empire Strikes Back, they had the Hoth playsets, which were actually really fun to play with. And then they started releasing more of those cardboard sets, like there was a Rebel base, and then AT-AT Walker, and then the Cloud City playset. And there was also a Star Destroyer playset, which is kind of supposed to be a vehicle, I guess. But once again, kind of like the Millennium Falcon, is really more of a set piece. And the big event for Empire Strikes Back was the Dagobah playset. And that was one of my favorite toys as a kid, even though it doesn't always work right. But you could see that they were going in detail in making these playsets. But the best one of all was from Return of the Jedi, the Ewok Village. And that's my personal opinion, but it had so many features, you can really have a great time with it. And I guess you could also consider Jabba's Throne to be a type of playset, but that's when things started to wind down. And I might have missed a few, but I think that's all the major ones from the Kenner days. And when Power of the Force 2 started up in the 90s, they had a few playsets too, but none of them could compare with the Death Star or the Ewok Village from the old days. They had a few Death Star corridors. I think they had one with the bridge where Luke swings over, and then they also had the jail. Then they had a Hoth base and an Endor bunker, which looks really plain. It came with like a little catapult, but they're great ideas, and I'm glad that they made them. I mean, it would be fun to play with, which is all that really matters with a playset. They had a few dioramas too. They had a cantina and Jabba's palace and stuff like that, but they were just cardboard. And I remember episode 1 had a few playsets, but nothing really big. Power of the Jedi had that carbon freezing chamber, which was really awesome. Attack of the Clones had a really big battle arena, which was actually really cool, and I've seen one up close, but I think they failed to capture the same play value of the Kenner days. That is really more also of a display piece. Episode 3 had the volcano from Mustafar, and it looked like it had a lot of features, but I never got one or anything. I've never seen one. And I also remember they had a Sarlacc pit from a battle pack. It was made out of plastic, and then, you know, nowadays we get a few dioramas. But it seems like Hasbro decided to stop making playsets. But it's not like they didn't try. I mean, look at all the ones they made. So I'm sure they made a business decision because they weren't making enough money off the playsets to justify making more. And to be honest, if they did have a playset out right now, I'd probably rather buy 6 figures or 8 figures than, you know, spend $50 on a playset. Unless, of course, the playset was really awesome. And we do get gigantic vehicles like the AT-AT and the big Millennium Falcon, so I'm not whining. I understand why they don't make more. But just for the sake of conversation, I'm going to do something a little different this week. We're going to assume that we are the design team for Hasbro, and we are charged with coming up with a new marketable playset for them to make. And what we're going to do is, it's going to be like a committee meeting where we take turns presenting ideas to each other. And so we're going to talk about what we think the playset they should make is. And here's kind of the way it's going to go. You're going to tell us which setting the playset should be. So what planet, you know, you have to think, is it going to be Jabba's palace? Is it going to be Hoth, Endor, the Death Star, Kamino, Geonosis, Kashyyyk, or any other place you could think of? It doesn't have to be limited to earlier playsets. You don't have to remake an old playset, but your idea can be, you know, an upgrade. Then you have to describe what features you think that the playset should have. So should it have guns with rockets? Those are kind of popular on the modern playsets. But come up with some ideas, you know. Should it have springboards to shoot people around? And, you know, just come up with something. And then describe how big it should be. The bigger it is, the more it costs to manufacture and buy, but you could cram more features on a big playset. So give your opinion on what you think is too small or too big. And then fourth, give us a price you'd be willing to pay for this playset. So what is the most you would ever pay for this that Hasbro could sell it for to try to make a profit? And also, if you're not into this whole design thing, you just give us your general thoughts on if you wish Hasbro would make more, if you've ever owned any playsets, tell us some stories about that. Just, you know, in general, you know, feel free to talk about playsets, your opinion about them. But for those of you who do go and decide to come up with your own playset to share with us, if you want to draw a picture or a diagram, or maybe some of you have built dioramas you want to show us, that type of thing is highly encouraged. So just have fun with it. It's not a big deal. No pressure or anything.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. This was a really great week. I had a lot of fun. Looking forward to your responses. Let's see if we can do our committee meeting and come up with the best possible design for a playset. So thanks. May the Force be with you.
Always with you. It cannot be done.